You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
The Cardigans were a huge success in Europe before they crossed over to the States. Their song Lovefool was a massive radio hit, thanks in part to its appearances in multiple popular films. However, their follow-up singles never connected like they should have. This week, we're joined by JB of the band Bright and Early to discuss the band and why they deserve your attention.
One hit is all you need to make the money guaranteed, and you can live off royalties forever. And it makes me wonder, is it just a wonder, or is it one hit thunder?
All right, JB, well, it's been a long time since I heard your voice, but I'm glad I'm hearing your voice to talk about the Cardigans. That was a nice choice, man.
Yeah, it's like when I saw it on the list, I was like, all right.
Yeah. You a fan? You're a Cardigans fan, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I like that band.
Yeah. It's pretty surprising that they are a one-hit wonder with how many bangers that this band has released.
Are they technically a one-hit wonder, or are they just a like such a massive hit wonder that all the other stuff pales in comparison to it?
Well, on the show, we go by United States charts, and if you're judging it off that, they're a one-hit wonder, surprisingly, because of Lovefool, which I like that song. It's a pretty good song. I think when it came out, it didn't necessarily strike me. To be honest, when it came out, I would have gotten that song mixed up with that Sixpence None the Richer Kiss Me song, I think.
I think a lot of people did, yeah.
Similar. Well, when you dig in a little deeper, you find out they're not that similar of artists, but the songs are kind of similar. Poppy, kind of fluffy love songs.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you dive into the Cardigans a little bit more, you find out that there's a lot more there.
Oh, they're such a just a wide-ranging band, and they do music in a way that kind of almost none of the other mainstream artists have done all throughout the past 20 years, I would say. I always found that they kind of had this loungy thing to them. But also all the instrumentation was filling out the whole song while still only basically being guitar, bass, and drums, maybe a synth or an organ in the background.
Yeah, they always have very noticeable and well and tastefully used, whether they have strings in the songs or if they have that synth. There's songs where they have those synth sounds that are just sound like a razor or something, like a razor saw or something, and they're just badass.
Well, they're using these old transistor organs that it's not like a normal pretty church organ. It's more like the Elvis Costello stuff, that a real hard cutting sound and quirky. Yeah,
it's great, man. And when you're thinking about this song, like I said, the Cardigans, they were a band that I went back on. I'm like, that was that band, that Love Me song. And then I would hear other songs by them and be like, this band's amazing. As far as this song goes, I mean, this song was obviously really huge in the United States, featured on things like the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack, which I never even saw that movie. I don't know if you saw that movie.
Yeah, no, that was a big one. They used it in the trailer, and it was kind of the big song.
And Cruel Intentions, as noted in my notes, which that movie I watched. Have you watched that movie, A, at all, B, recently?
Not recently, no, but I did back, I'm pretty old. I watched it when it came out. It's funny, I've seen that movie, not a fan, but whenever I hear that movie now, I go back to American Dad, I think it is, with the fish in the bowl, because he has a huge crush on Ryan Phillippe.
Nice. Yeah, dude, that movie is about a stepbrother and stepsister who I guess want to have sex with each other all the time, and then they try to ruin each other's relationships. I think that's what it is. When I watched it, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
There was a lot of step brother, stepsister stuff going on in the 90s and early 2000s in movies. You know, that's what the entire plot, spoiler alert, but I think that's kind of what happens in Clueless. I think that Alicia Silverstone ends up with her stepbrother, who is played by Paul Rudd. I think that's true. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's true.
I don't think they go like super hard on them ending up together, but that is what they're pushing at the end of that movie.
Which is pretty wild. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see that too much, minus on maybe porn websites and stuff now. You don't see it in mainstream movies too much now.
No. But weird themes.
Yeah, the Cardigans. They're from Sweden. To be honest, there aren't a lot of huge Swedish bands that have become big in the United States, minus the obvious ones. ABBA, Ace of Base. ABBA and Ace of Base, which, to be honest, like when you hear the Cardigans, I mean, it's like a much cooler version, but there's still like this, like there's elements of ABBA and Ace of Base in the Cardigans that I hear.
You think so?
Yeah, man. There's still, and maybe it's,
I think maybe you're right on terms of like the classical arrangement type of thing and some of the textural stuff for sure.
Danceable. The songs are danceable.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's always that.
I definitely hear the comparison of Ace and Base and Cardigans. I mean, they could have easily been on the same tour.
Yeah, and when you look at other Swedish bands that have had success in the United States, it's not that many. There's Roxette. You know Roxette?
Why do I know that?
Joyride was their hit. They may have had one other hit too. Like,
sorry, you're picking one of the least known Roxette songs as far as I'm concerned. They did Listen to Your Heart.
Yeah, everybody knows that
They
song.
did It Must Have Been Love.
Oh, that was huge. Oh, she actually just passed away recently, didn't she?
Yeah.
Dang, Roxette, R.I.P. Also, the only other two noteworthy Swedish bands or artists that have had success in the United States that I saw were Eagle Eye Cherry, which I didn't even know was Swedish.
That was a one hit. Yeah, I thought he was like Southern boy here.
I guess not. And also Rednecks, who if you don't know who Rednecks are, they sang Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's their only song, isn't it?
Well,
and remixes of it.
A funny thing about that is they do have other songs, and I believe that it was my friend Jim Legrando, who manages Punchline and was a guest before on One Hit Thunder, who told me that Rednecks was selling their entire catalog minus Cotton Eye Joe, that you could buy the entire rest of their catalog for something like $10,000 or something.
That doesn't seem like a good investment. I could be wrong.
Maybe it's a good deal. I don't know.
The back catalog to Cotton Eye Joe.
Not Cotton Eye Joe, though. Cotton Eye Joe is not included.
Oh, no, I get it. It's the early stuff.
Yeah. The deep Rednecks cuts. But yeah, exactly. Man, when it comes to Sweden, that's about it. So the Cardigans, in my opinion, are Sweden's greatest musical export of all time.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't really know any other Swedish bands or artists, but wasn't there the Will Ferrell movie just filmed there about Swedish bands, or was that?
Was that Sweden in that movie?
Another Nordic country.
I actually liked that movie. I thought it was great, funny. Minus the big like scene of whatever all the songs that one weird scene. I laughed, but
with that they're trying to get a viral hit or something. You know what they do with that.
Right. A little Cardigans history here. They formed in Sweden in 1992. They lived in an apartment together, recorded a demo, and then got signed to a small indie. And then, they went gold in Sweden and Japan in 94, which led to them getting signed to Mercury Records. And they released that album, First Band on the Moon. That's the album that Lovefool is on. And that's a pretty badass album, which one thing that's pretty notable about that album, I don't know. Are you familiar with that album, JB?
Yeah, pretty familiar.
You like the cover song?
What is the cover?
The cover on the album is they do Black Sabbath Iron Man in very Cardigans fashion. It's pretty badass. And they had this song, skyrocketed. It went to, I'm trying to see like what it went to on the charts here. I guess it peaked at number 2 on Adult Contemporary, behind, at the time, Don't Speak by No Doubt.
Oh, man. That song was dominating.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Around the same time, if you want to know what else was going on at that same time, on the charts was Puff Daddy's I'll Be Missing You and Elton John's Candle in the Wind 1997, which is always coming up on here, which I think is complete bullshit because the song was an old song that was brought back for Princess Diana's death, but then it ends up being in the charts like crazy, even though it was an older song.
That little era right there was like my whole musical awakening as like a young person.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
97.
I was born in 84, so...
Okay.
You know, I was just starting to become like, I think I was like, how old was I in 97? I'm bad at math. 13?
Yep. There you are.
Oh, good, cool. I was listening to The Offspring, Face to Face. I had Big Choice.
You're a punk.
But I was also listening to the Cardigans, Biggie, Wu-Tang. I listened to everything back then. But it's like, I don't know, something about the Cardigans always stood out as like this super musical band where like every part of the band is awesome. The drums are great. The guitar player is like one of the most underrated guitar players from that whole music scene, I think. Their guitar player is actually still super active, and he's written for a bunch of other artists.
I mean, I think the Cardigans are still super active. I was watching music videos and stuff just from the past few years. I wasn't familiar with some of their new songs. They're great.
Oh, yeah.
They're really, really good. Well, Lovefool had a very sort of memorable in a 90s sort of way music video.
Yeah.
One thing that I remembered from it, and I saw again today when I watched it, was Nina Persson, who is the lead singer of the Cardigans, has the bluest eyes ever. And I didn't know if that was just people that made the music video.
Like the contrast of the video.
Yeah, some color, but they seem to
it's
actually
really
be
true.
that blue.
Yeah, you can look up other pictures of her. She looks exactly like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I think that's that Nordic gene thing.
Yeah. Their next album came out after this hit, Gran Turismo. They had the song called My Favorite Game, which is an awesome song.
Yeah, that's arguably like their other hit.
Dude, I swear that song was used in commercials. I tried to look it up.
So much stuff. Yeah.
It's just like one of those songs that you just know, but I was like, I don't know like what this was in or what commercial this was in or if it was just played here and there on the radio and I didn't pick up on it. But
that was used all over the place. They used that drum and bass riff, the
yeah.
Yeah, like it's used in so many things. It has been. I've been hearing that my whole life.
But it's funny that they made that really awesome music video. Have you ever seen the music video for that song?
Not in a long time, but
it got banned from MTV. And I think that may have been one of the missteps that the Cardigans made, because that song should have been just as huge. And that music video was, when you watch it, you're like, wow. Basically, it's Nina in a Cadillac convertible on like a desert road.
Right.
But she puts a big stone on the acceleration pedal in the car and basically takes her hands off the wheel.
Yeah, she's like sitting up on the seat, right?
Yeah, and she's just recklessly going down the road. Cars are swerving out of the way and crashing and things like that. And it was
the label's
banned.
like, no, it's too reckless. Take it down.
Yeah, like, come on, MTV. How weak is that? So, yeah, it got banned from MTV. And then I think that could have been their downfall as far as U.S. popularity, is that at that point, they weren't maximizing on their popularity here anymore. And I think they were able to maintain enough popularity that they've had a long and great career and released a lot of great music, but I don't think that they are quite the pop stars that they were or could have been following the success of Lovefool.
I don't disagree with that at all. But I also think that like there's like you get in where you fit in, and I think that the Cardigans fill this box of like being the band that all the other bands like. And somebody's got to be the inspiration. You know what I mean? Like, who's putting out music that's going to keep inspiring all of the other artists that are out there? And I know everybody does it for each other, but I think that they're one of those bands that kind of stayed important to the people who like them. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
A lot of artists kind of start to change, and they're like, oh, let me try this other sound, and I don't know, they give up or they do whatever they do, and then, you know, the fans start to fall off. But I don't think Cardigans fans have like fallen off.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good point about there's a lot of artists that achieve some sort of mainstream success, and it can be off of one song, which we've talked about on this podcast before, but then can use that success and resources that having that success provides, whether that is enough money to, I don't know, have your own studio or be able to afford to keep touring and keep making albums and things like that, and then are able to have a long career because of that. You'll see the one-hit wonders who just have that hit and then fall off forever. But then, you have people, and not that, someone that comes to mind for me who's one of my all-time favorites is Ben Folds, who arguably Brick was the hit. Was the one major hit, and he had other like minor hits.
He had Army and definitely other stuff.
But he's managed to have a 30-some year career because Brick set that off for him,
It's better to be a plateau than a spike,
I think, or a steady rise, or you definitely don't want that big fall like you'll see on so many one-hit wonders. And I've always believed that my band, and I'm sure you feel that this way too, that if you had that mega success and had that, I don't know, that windfall of money and notoriety that comes with that you'd be able to stretch that out for as long as you want to.
I'll just start writing and writing and writing and...
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Yeah! Down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard. PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
Ready for a head-bangingly good time? Dive into the world of heavy metal with the Brutally Delicious podcast. Here, we don't just talk music. We welcome you into our heavy metal family. Join us for candid chats with legends and rising stars. We go beyond the typical interviews, exploring raw emotions and the life-altering impact of heavy metal. So whether you're a diehard metalhead or just curious, join our family and let the headbanging begin with the Brutally Delicious podcast.
Never have to do anything. It'd be great. Like right now, I spend so much time making art for other people or using my talent to make things for other artists or other companies. And it's like, if I was able to have enough money to do that all the time for myself, like, I don't know where I'd be right now, It
would be the greatest, man. And that's why when you see some of these artists, and they don't all do it, but there's definitely been people and artists and bands that we've talked about on here who kind of resent that one hit. And you just want to be like...
I've been that guy plenty. I think that comes when you have an artist that's been established for a while and has created like a huge underground fan base, and then their hit betrays all of the previous sound and vibe. I think that's really when people reject it. Because when Newfound Glory got a hit off their first, I think it was a self-titled with...
Hit or Miss?
To you and me, I think it's hit or miss, but I think My Friends Over You is considered like the big one amongst the whole fan base. But that song was like right in line with all the other stuff they had put out before it. So everybody's like, yay, Newfound, good for you. Same thing with Blink-182. Blink-182 did What's My Age Again, and it was still kind of like Damn It and all the other funny stuff, so that everybody's like, yeah. But then when it's like, I don't know, AFI.
Oh, okay.
AFI put out Sing the Sorrow or whatever, and everybody was like, what is this?
Yeah, I guess I could see that. In my opinion, that was their best stuff, but I guess that's a little different than the skate punk AFI that...
they were just belting it and like not caring about sounding nice, or it was like super raw and punk, and then they put out like a very produced album. It doesn't make the album bad. It's going to create different fans. And then when the counterculture or the underground's like, oh, well, this was our thing, and now we're sharing it with people we don't like. Well, I'm done on this.
Right.
And that kind of goes that way.
Yeah, I get that. I still think that you and I wouldn't complain about a freaking hit.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that I back that thought. It's more like an observation.
Right. Do you hear the Cardigans' influence on any current bands?
Oh, like crazy. Yeah. Like, did you know that the guitar player from the Cardigans has been just like cranking out hits in the mainstream for years? Oh, dude, he wrote like Ariana Grande songs, Ellie Goulding.
Wow.
He wrote Starboy by The Weeknd.
No way.
Yeah, he wrote the Troll songs with Justin Timberlake. Yeah, go to his wiki. You'll be amazed. He's just been,
man. I had no idea.
Yep, Carly Rae Jepsen.
Oh, what Carly Rae song did he do?
It says Emotion.
I Really Like You. Oh my God, dude. That song's incredible.
My point is this guy has been deeply ingrained in the DNA of like American mainstream pop.
Yeah.
Since the 90s.
Dude, a lot of the Weeknd songs from Starboy, which makes sense now that, Starboy was such a, to be honest, not my favorite Weeknd stuff because it was a lot more pop than like the sexy, grimy, older Weeknd songs.
I love the Daft Punk song.
Yeah, that song's good.
Coming.
Yeah, that song's good. But look at these Ariana Grande songs too, man. Wow.
Imagine having that catalog under your belt.
Wow. That's like recently we did an episode about Semisonic, and Dan Wilson from Semisonic has written like an insane amount of pop songs. You'd have never known, right?
No, I would have never known that.
Oh, and this guy, speaking of Eagle Eye Cherry, he even wrote several Eagle Eye Cherry songs.
Yes, he did.
His fellow Swede.
He's got One Direction.
Oh, he wrote Breathin' by Ariana Grande too? Damn. Yeah, this dude's a beast. So yeah, sometimes you don't even realize the influence that these people are having on popular music, even when you don't know it's them.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to have a career like that, just the longest time. So it's like when people talk about, like, oh, well, the Cardigans didn't make it, it's like, well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
they definitely have. And even regardless of how many, I don't know, top 40 hits they had in the United States, they definitely have had a long career. And you could just type them into YouTube and see so many, I don't know, high production value music videos, which is a weird thing to judge, like how many hits a band has. But to have the money to make those, you got to be having some success. That has to be coming from somewhere.
You know, it's like I heard you guys talk about something one time about having a small percentage of the country to be successful, and it's like a band like the Cardigans has a small percentage of the world. And it's like when you approach it on an international thing and you have like half of percent of the people on the planet streaming or buying your stuff, like you're doing okay.
Yeah. Dude, it's so crazy what little percent of the population you need to like your music to be mega successful.
Oh, yeah. It's even crazier sometimes to consider how small some of the markets or music scenes are, and because they can feel huge, like they're worldwide. But then you see like how much of the people there are on the earth and how many of them know about this type of music or that type of music. It's like, oh, so I ain't shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy too when you see, like, you and I both come from like the punk rock world, for a better way to put it. Like, we're not, maybe we don't have mohawks, but that's
touring music scene, underground music.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny. Recently, I described it, and I think this is probably the best way to put it, because it's not necessarily, you and I don't, our guitar tones a lot of times were distorted guitars.
Bullshit. You had beautiful bass tone, and I loved my guitar tone.
True. But I'm saying, like, in general, would be lumped into punk rock, even though we're not necessarily railing against the government in our music, even though granted, we absolutely should be.
Yeah, not outwardly, at least, for sure.
Yeah, but it's a lot of love stuff in there and whatever. But what I think a better description of the world of music that we come from is bands and vans would be a good way to put it.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of different styles that...
hey, they've got yacht rock. I mean, you need van rock.
Yeah, that's right. We've been in the van rock scene for a very long time. And you're right. Like, it's not that big of a world. It's almost frustrating when you think about it. It's like, how did I not figure out how to conquer that world that's not that big? You know, a lot of times too, you know, and this isn't talking about myself, but it can be when I'm talking about someone like you, who I hold in such high regard as a songwriter and as a voice. Well, I do. I very much do. But it's a lot of times, dude, there's factors behind it that you don't see with the naked eye. And one of those main things is, dude, how many people that are in huge bands do we not know whether they had like a rich parent who was able to like provide them with advantages that maybe our bands or some other band that we know that's really great that didn't achieve the success that we believe they should have didn't have available to them.
It's always kind of like there's always something. I think when you have all the talent and you have this and that, then you don't have the money, and then when you have all the money, sometimes you might not have the talent, and it's very rare that everybody has all of it. And I think that it's about just going out and getting it, because it's like if you've got the stuff and you've got the songs and people believe in it and you can prove that to yourself and other fans, then it's really just about pushing forward and believing and just kind of making it happen through any means. And, like hip hop artists, they'll go sell drugs sometimes, and they have, and they'll rap about that. And it's like nothing's going to stop them from making a career out of what they want to do. And I'm not saying that people should go sell drugs, but I'm saying like whatever it may be, you just got to do it.
Right. I mean, there's a certain amount of luck that goes
there's always luck
too.
For sure. Luck is a huge factor. I think you have to acknowledge it. But like the one thing that all those like I'm not one of those like super like ultra positive people all the time. I consider myself a realist and somewhat of a pessimist.
Right.
But like
if you write, this is what I was going to ask you, and I don't know if this is what you were getting at. Do you think, especially now when all songs are at everyone's fingertips at all times in their pockets, do you think that if you write a truly amazing song that it will reach the masses, or do you think that there's just too many songs out there and it's going to stay secret? It's going to stay a secret.
I might be just like a romantic about it, but I believe that good songs will always rise just because people listen to them and they keep going. Like I still listen to artists that, they've gone on to do other things, but it's like if the song matters to me, then it's like it's going to be part of my like song memory, and like you go back to things, and that's just how it works. And I think, and I remember we were talking about luck, and it's like I think that with all the good stuff out there, it's like a lot of the catchiest things are going to grow. But then like for me, one of my favorite bands is Phantom Planet.
Right.
And they have so many good songs, but everybody knows them for the one California song, Right. But like they have that song that's like, "You're always up to no good," which has been used in tons of different commercials and things like that. They've been lucky, but where's their massive success? Like where's all that? And I think that sometimes luck is the only factor in making some of these artists popular, because that's a good looking band with money and a hit, but they keep putting out songs, and where's the blow up? You know what I mean?
Well, that's an example of a band that has probably been able to maintain one way or another. They have been able to have a music career, and I think sometimes that's part of it too. Whether you have to have your fingers in a lot of things, it's funny.
True.
It's very rare that you're able to just be an artist. You have to be an artist, but you also have to know. You also have to be a booking agent, and you have to be a video editor, and you have to be a podcast maker, and
you also have to have taste.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that too. That's a big part of it. Is like you could be the best guitarist in the world or the best singer, but if you're making lame stuff, which I know a lot of people who I could call out on this, but
no, we don't need to do that.
No, we're not going to do that. But I'm saying, like, you'll see people that are just have all the talent in the world. I want to shake and be like, I wish I had your talent, but just using it in the wrong way.
Yeah,
it's a matter of opinion, I suppose.
Oh well, I mean, everything is.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
but I think that what you and I would probably agree with is to make art and music that is sincere and from the heart, and not just trying to.
Well, yeah, I think that the thing with music is it's like a conduit of a connection between the artist and the fan or the listener. So it's like, if you're making music that's truly like you put your thought into it, you put your heart into it, you believe in it, and you feel it. Well, somebody on the other end of that's going to feel it. And without doing that, it's like you might put out something catchy and somebody might like it, but if you're not actually putting your soul into it, then it's got a shelf life.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's all I'm getting at is like style aside. Like I'm sure there are styles that I'm more inclined to listen to, but it could be a country song. But if it, and it's not like I'm a country fan, but if it's a truly great song and you could tell it's sincere and came from the heart, then I'm gonna respect and probably like it if it's a well done song, But speaking of this, man, what have you been working on lately?
I've been working on a project with my buddy Ben Roth.
Yeah,
it's called Nash Waters.
Yeah, dude, you sent me songs.
I've sent you some stuff. Yeah,
they're great.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's still just like we're taking it slow and just like putting it together in a way that feels right and not trying to force anything. He's also in a band called You, Me, and Everyone We Know, and they've been writing an album. So, like, everybody's kind of busy with stuff, and I have my own stuff too. I've been working with a couple people. I've been working with Steve.
Yeah, I think that's what's important is just keep creating.
Always,
man.
I mean, when I was young, I never thought I'd be working on like pop music or hip hop or any of those types of things. And it's like I always listened to it, but how do you know you're gonna not be in a band or not feel like making the same type of music you've been making for your whole life? Like you just don't know until you feel a certain way, and then when you do, like sometimes that can be really empowering and push you forward.
Hell yeah, man. Well, anyway, man, it was nice talking about the Cardigans with you.
Yes.
I haven't talked to you in a while, and I'm glad that we got to bond a little bit over this awesome band. I've been listening to them all morning in preparation for this podcast, and thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate you having me on. I miss you.
Yeah, me too, man.
This has been One Hit Thunder. One Hit Thunder is hosted by Chris Fafalios of Punchline, Peck, and Another Cheetah, and produced by Matt Kelly of Geekscape.net. Underneath me, you're hearing Getting There is Getting By off the Punchline debut album, Action. Matt and Chris are excited to announce our new company, We Know Podcasting. If you have always wanted to host a podcast but don't know how to get started, or want feedback on your current podcast, or just need someone to edit your shows, we're here to help. Contact us at info@weknowpodcasting.com for our rates. Let us know your thoughts on the show by emailing us at onehitthunderpodcast@gmail.com, and make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app. Tune in next week for another episode of One Hit Thunder.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Yeah! Down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles, The Wrath of the Buzzard, PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.
Ready for a head-bangingly good time? Dive into the world of heavy metal with the Brutally Delicious podcast. Here, we don't just talk music. We welcome you into our heavy metal family. Join us for candid chats with legends and rising stars. We go beyond the typical interviews, exploring raw emotions and the life-altering impact of heavy metal. So whether you're a diehard metalhead or just curious, join our family and let the headbanging begin with the Brutally Delicious podcast.